Hey YouTube, MTGAddict here with yet another deck tech for you guys. This one is a little bit more budget friendly. This deck, which I have named The Walking Dead, costs around $20 as of this recording, and so it's a very good, fun, budget friendly deck for you guys to try out, and it is pretty good, pretty competitive actually if you actually try it out and test it out yourself. So let's go ahead and go through this deck. This deck has a lot of humans, as you can see. There's a reason for that because one of our win conditions involves reanimating a lot of our humans. So let's start us off with the creatures. We have a playset of Doom Travelers, which is just a great card. It's a 2-for-1. It's an early blocker. It gives you life with Soul Warden and so forth. Gives you a flying blocker and all these things. Doom Traveler is such a great card. It is also human. Keep that in mind. We have a playset of Soul Warden. Soul Wardens are also good cards because they will gain you the extra life in the beginning of the game to help out, carry out your win conditions later on. Then we have a playset of High Priest of Penance. This is a great rattlesnake card. Rattlesnake cards are known for, you know, basically making your opponents think twice before attacking or doing anything about them. And it will give you the time to build up your deck and eventually your win condition at the end. Next, we have a 3 set of Fiend Hunters. Fiend Hunters are basically Oblivion Rings on a stick or Journey to Nowheres, and it's a pretty good blocker for 1/3. It is also a human, as you can see. It's all adding up to something here. Next, we have actually a playset of Undercity Informers. This is actually one of the ways that you can win the game. Undercity Informer. Originally, I put this in this deck to actually self-mill myself so that you get a lot of creatures in the graveyard. So you can sacrifice a creature and you reveal cards from your library until you reach a land, and then you basically put all those cards in your graveyard. And that's a very good self-mill mechanic. But actually, the funny thing is, as I was testing this out with a couple of friends of mine and playing with them, I've noticed that this is actually a very good secondary win condition, and you'll see why in a sec. But you can actually mill your opponents in this non-mill oriented deck, and so this is actually a pretty funny card if you actually test it out. And it's more powerful when you see our win conditions later on. Next, we have 2 Riders of Gavany. Riders of Gavany is a great card that will help your deck turn to a semi-aggro deck when necessary. You basically, when it comes into play, choose a creature type, and human creatures you control will have protection of that creature type. So if you're playing against any tribal decks or any creature-heavy decks, it's a nice way to get past them. And even your small 1/1s and humans can actually, pile up a lot of damage at the end. So Riders of Gavany is a very good card to have, probably a mid-range in the game. As you can see, we have these big creatures here. We actually have one Tessa, Envoy of Ghosts. I just put her here because I just really like her as a card. Has good defense against aggro decks and so forth. And she's pretty easy to reanimate, especially when you're milling yourself and you reanimate her from the graveyard. So she is also a human herself. She has protection from creatures, so she's basically unblockable. And she gives you an extra layer of defense whenever any opponents you have are attacking with a lot of creatures. The key point in this deck is Angel of Glory's Rise. Very cheap rare. It's a bulk rare basically, and I wanted to make a deck off of it. Whenever Angel of Glory Rise comes in, you basically exile all zombies on the battlefield, and then you return all human creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is how you win. You can notice that there are tons of humans in this deck, and basically anything in your graveyard will return back to the battlefield. You get all the life from Soul Warden, you get your creatures back, Doom Traveler, and all these things. You get to exile creatures with Fiend Hunter. It's a lot of fun when you pretty much reanimate all your human creatures back onto the battlefield and your opponents have to deal with them all over again. Also, you'll notice that if you happen to get the mill guy out, you have all these creatures sacrificed over and over and over again. You can pretty much mill your opponents pretty quickly if you have at least 5 to 10 sack targets for this deck. So Angel of Glory's Rise is probably the key winning condition in this deck. You basically overwhelm your opponents with all these humans. Reanimation, we just have a playset of Unburial Rites. I put in a burial rites mainly because of its flashback. You are going to mill yourself a lot anyway, and so if you happen to get a rites in your graveyard, it's actually better for you. The mana cost will be cheaper, and this is the way that you will bring back your angel. Basically, the way that this deck works, you do want to just focus on bringing out your cheap humans, blocking when necessary, doing stuff, just slowly building up your win condition, reanimating Unburial Rites, and basically overwhelming them with humans later on. First up, control. I have a playset of Ghoul Flesh. Now I know Ghoul Flesh is not a game-breaking card, and I know you guys can easily replace this, and you guys are totally free to do so. Ghoul Flesh I just put in mainly for fun. You will notice that it's an enchant creature that gives -1/-1, but you'll notice that it'll give a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types as well. So with Angel of Glory's Rise, when it comes to play, it exiles all zombies. It will exile all creatures your opponents control with the zombie type. Again, it's a 1-drop. You can kill off any early on aggros, but if you guys are not a fan of this, which I can understand, you can replace it with your typical Doom Blades and go for the throats, murders, and so forth. We have 2 Day of Judgments. Day of Judgment is just a good board wipe. Overall, it's very cheap to buy. They're about like $2.50 as of this recording. It does not really matter if you wipe out your board, because once you have an angel in your graveyard, you will be able to basically reanimate your entire deck anyway. So board wipes hurt your opponents much more than it hurts you, and a Day of Judgment does a very good job doing that. And then of course we have the universal removal Oblivion Ring. Oblivion Ring is great. If you have any extra needs to remove some of the creatures or enchantments that your opponents have, you can always just depend on Ob-Ring. For lands, again, lands are flexible according to what you guys want. I don't think fetch lands are absolutely necessary for this type of deck. For those who are more budget friendly, I have a playset of Caves of Kolos and Scoured Barrens, and the deck seems to work out pretty well. It doesn't really matter about your first drops or second drops, because this deck is mid-range, tempo based. You're trying to slowly build up your win condition and eventually win at the end. And if the game does go pretty long, it does turn in your favor, because you're getting way too much card advantage from all the reanimation targets. This deck is weak, of course, to graveyard hate, so you do have to be careful about that. But other than that, again, it's a fun deck. It's literally only 20 bucks, roughly, in total. And I highly recommend you guys check it out. It is semi-competitive. It actually is more powerful than you think. So try it out. Comment and subscribe below if you guys happen to like this deck. If you want to offer any suggestions, I'm always happy to hear and read what you guys think. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.